Diego, my husband, suffers from Alzheimer's. He has forgotten everyone, yet he never forgets his goddess, Monica. He often runs to Monica's door, calling her name with deep affection. One day, while washing his clothes, I accidentally ruined a photo of Monica that he kept in his pocket. He picked up his cane and beat me until my head was bleeding. My son even blamed me. Mom, Aunt Monica is the woman Dad has loved his whole life. You ruined her photo on purpose, didn't you? It's no surprise Dad hit you. You're so old already, why be jealous of a picture? That night, I discovered an old diary my husband had kept for decades. Inside, I found a university acceptance letter with my name on it. I remembered back then, my husband had told me that only he and Monica had been admitted to university, while I had failed. It turns out, he had hidden my acceptance letter for 40 years. I was so furious that my blood pressure spiked, and I fainted on the spot. When I woke up, I was back in 1976. To my shock, my husband had also been reborn. He wanted to leave me and live happily ever after with Monica. I refused. Chapter 1. Zoe, go and take Monica's place at the dam. In this weather, how could a city-educated youth like her handle such heavy labor? My shoulder ached from his grip, and when I turned around, I saw Diego's youthful face. I froze for a moment before realizing I had been reborn. At this moment, Diego and I had only been married for a month, and his goddess, Monica, had already caught the eye of the village officer. They were about to get engaged. What are you standing there for? Go now! Diego pushed me again. I took a deep breath and said coldly, why should I take her place? Monica volunteered for the dam work to compete for the March 8th Red Banner Worker Award and the Iron Lady of the Year title. Diego was stunned, but her health is so weak. And it's her time of the month. She can't handle it. A sharp anger rose in my chest. In my past life, after 40 years of marriage, Diego never even knew when my period was. Yet he knew Monica's perfectly. Diego pushed through the crowd and pulled Monica aside to talk. The onlookers watched them in surprise. Moments later, Monica's face turned beet red, and she slapped Diego hard, yelling, "You pervert!" As Monica ran off crying, Diego, his face flushed with embarrassment, came back to me. His tone was stiff as he ordered, "Go explain to Monica. Tell her I was only concerned about her. I didn't mean to offend. Tell her this year's weather will be cold, and building the dam is tough work. If she insists on going, it could harm her ability to have children in the future." Hearing this, I knew Diego had also been reborn. In our past life, Monica had overworked herself during this dam project and caught a severe cold, damaging her body. After getting married, she struggled to conceive for years. For 10 years, Monica couldn't have a child, and her in-laws repeatedly demanded a divorce. She often came crying to Diego, who eventually helped her find several doctors to treat her, finally allowing her to have a child. I glared at him fiercely, raised my hand, and slapped him hard. I shouted, "Diego, you are my husband, yet you care about another woman's fertility? Have you no shame?" Diego's face darkened. He raised his hand as if to hit me but then lowered it. "Zoe, I'm just concerned about a colleague's health. How could you think so poorly of me? You need ideological education." Seeing his furious face and the astonished gazes around us, I trembled with rage. I angrily demanded, "Diego, if you care so much about another woman, why did you marry me in the first place?" I truly wanted to ask him, "I am your wife. How could you deceive me, steal my university acceptance letter, and ruin my future?" Chapter 2. After work, I went home and told my parents that I wanted a divorce from Diego. My father grabbed a wooden stick and hit me. "I told you not to marry that pretty boy, but you insisted. Now, not even 2 months later, you want a divorce? Do you know how embarrassing this is for our family?" I cried and said, "He lied to me. He loves someone else, and he even tried to hit me, but my father dismissed me. What married couple doesn't fight? Besides, I heard you were the one who hit him. He didn't even lay a finger on you." "Stop being so dramatic," my mother added. "You're a woman. How can you talk about divorce so casually? Don't you care about your reputation? If you mention divorce again, don't call yourself my daughter. I can't bear that shame." A deep despair enveloped me, making it hard to breathe. I had worked so hard to return to the 1970s, and I didn't want anything to do with Diego anymore. I wanted a divorce. Diego came home with a cold expression, not even glancing at me. My mother and I prepared dinner, and she called him over with a smile. He didn't respond, simply picking up his bowl with the same icy demeanor. During the meal, my father tried talking to him, but Diego acted as if he hadn't heard, completely ignoring him. Rage swirled inside me. I had endured his cold treatment for an entire lifetime. In the past, whenever he gave me the cold shoulder and ignored me, I trembled with fear, thinking I wasn't good enough or that I'd done something wrong. I would apologize and beg for his forgiveness, but he treated me like I didn't exist. Only when he was in a good mood would he finally lower himself to say a word to me. This made me depressed. But Diego told my family I was being overly sensitive and should just work harder in the fields to fix it. At the time, I didn't know his behavior was called emotional abuse. What hurt the most was that my family and friends all said he was a good husband. You're so lucky. Diego never argues with you or lays a hand on you. Exactly. Diego has such a good temper. Even when you hit him, he doesn't hit back. Don't take advantage of him. This time, I wouldn't tolerate it anymore. I slammed my bowl down on the table. Diego, my parents are talking to you. Why don't you answer them? They don't owe you anything. Diego barely lifted his eyelids and continued eating. My father scolded me. What's with the attitude? Eat your meal and go feed the pigs when you're done. Stop making such a fuss all the time. That same feeling of helplessness from my past life choked me, making it hard to swallow. In this era, it's easy for a woman to get married, but getting a divorce? Nearly impossible. I must stand tall enough for my voice to be heard. I entered my younger brother's room and borrowed his textbooks to study. My brother mocked me. Sister, you're just a middle school student. Can you even understand high school textbooks? I rolled my eyes at him and said nothing. In my past life, I had been admitted to university. Besides, in my previous life, Diego was always busy with work, and I was the one tutoring our son and grandson to prevent others from saying that the wife of a great professor was illiterate. I read a lot of books during those years. I glanced through my brother's textbooks and smiled. Thankfully, I could understand the material. There were only 3 months left until the reinstatement of the college entrance examination. This time, I was determined to go to university. Diego continued to give me the cold shoulder, but I began learning to ignore it. If I don't care about you, you can't hurt me. The next day, as I passed by a grove of trees, I spotted Diego's sneaky figure. I quietly followed him and saw Diego taking 2 items out of his bag and handing them to Monica. Monica, I noticed your hands are chapped today. Here's some hand cream for you. Also, it must be freezing while you're working on the dam. Take this bottle of liquor. A sip will warm you up when it gets too cold. Diego, how generous of you. That box of hand cream was bought for our wedding, and I'd been reluctant to use it, saving it for when my hands cracked open badly. That green bottle of liquor was something my father had stored away for an entire year, intending to open it during the New Year celebration with relatives. Diego had taken it to give to his goddess. Chapter 3. When Diego first arrived in the countryside, his fair skin and handsome face attracted the attention of all the village girls and married women. I, too, had stolen a few glances at him. I never thought he would take an interest in me and try to win my favor. He would pick a bouquet of wildflowers or foxtails and secretly place them on my windowsill. He would carve little animals out of immature loofahs to cheer me up. Sometimes, when I returned from watering the vegetables in the field, he would wait nearby and play the harmonica for me. I thought he loved me, so I agreed to marry him. Only now do I realize that his affection for me and his affection for Monica are worlds apart. Monica frowned and said, Diego, you're already married. I can't keep accepting these things from you. Diego firmly stuffed the items into Monica's bag and said, even if I'm married, I'm still your brother. Besides, Monica, you should know better than anyone else the reason I married Zoe. It's all because. Don't say it. Monica sobbed as she carefully put away the hand cream and liquor. I know, marrying a village girl like Zoe must have been such a humiliation for you. Diego sighed helplessly. What else could I do? Zoe's grandfather is the village chief. And her mother keeps track of the work points. If I didn't marry her, I wouldn't even have enough food to eat, let alone share work points with you. So that's the truth. I clenched my jaw, my nails digging into the tree trunk. Monica continued sobbing, tears streaming down her face. Diego, don't come looking for me anymore. I'm about to marry Alex. His mother is starting to accept me. As long as I can win the Iron Lady title this year, she probably won't oppose me joining their family. Diego's expression changed drastically. No, you can't keep doing that job. The other day, I was too anxious and spoke harshly, making things difficult for you. He grabbed Monica's shoulders with both hands, his gaze fervent. Monica, listen to me. Don't marry Alex. You don't need to compromise yourself. In just 3 months, the college entrance exams will be reinstated. When that happens, we can take the exams together. Once we get into university, we can leave this godforsaken place. Monica looked at him with uncertainty. The college entrance exams? Diego, where did you hear that? Is it reliable? You know there are so many people who like Alex. If I don't seize this opportunity to marry him now, I might. Diego interrupted firmly. Monica, you can't marry him. You won't be happy with him. And my information is 100% accurate. Let me tell you. I sucked in a breath. This idiot. Was he about to reveal that he had been reborn? Diego hesitated for a moment before continuing. This information came from a very special source. Don't ask, but you have to trust me. And one more thing. You must keep this a secret. Don't tell anyone. I breathed a sigh of relief. But then I heard Monica say, I promise, Diego, I won't tell anyone. But if your information is wrong, and I miss the chance to marry Alex, what then? Diego pulled Monica into his arms. This time, I won't let you marry him. I let out a cold laugh and stepped out, slapping both of them hard across the face. Diego, you've only been married to me for a month, and you're already hugging Monica. I'm going to report you for having an affair and messing around with women. Monica immediately pushed Diego away, covered her face, and ran off. Diego stared at me gravely and said in a deep voice, Zoe, since you've seen it, there's no point in hiding anymore. Let's divorce. I smiled faintly and replied, I don't agree, Diego. You've been reborn, and now you want to leave me to be with your goddess? Then how do you plan to account for my university acceptance letter that you hid in our past life, or the life you ruined for me? Chapter 4. I continued. Diego, do you think our marriage is a joke? We've only been married for 3 months, and you're already talking about divorce. What will people think of me? What will they think of my family? Diego replied coldly, I don't care. I don't love you anymore. I will divorce you. After saying this, he turned around and walked toward Monica. I called out loudly, if you insist on divorcing me, I'll report you and Monica for having an affair. He turned back angrily. Nonsense. No one will believe you. I said calmly, then let's see what happens first, the college entrance exams or the public criticism against you. Oh, and by the way, give back the hand cream and liquor you gave Monica. Those are my family's things. Watching his face turn red and pale in anger, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Diego, still wary, quickly returned the items. He placed the liquor back in its original spot, and my father didn't even notice it had been taken. But a few days later, Monica showed up at work with a jug of rice wine. As she passed me, she deliberately took a sip and murmured, this rice wine is so delicious, sweet and smooth. It warms you right up. And these canvas gloves, they make working so much easier. No more blisters on my hands. Seeing Monica's smug smile and Diego's evasive gaze, I understood immediately. He had bought them for her. How generous he was, spending the money I earned to buy gifts for his goddess. Did he really think I couldn't do anything about him? He seemed to forget that my grandfather was the village chief and my mother was the record keeper. I went to my grandfather and told him not to give Diego any special treatment. I suggested assigning him the hardest, most grueling tasks. After all, he was the son-in-law of our family, and favoritism would invite gossip. Then I spoke to my mother, telling her to record Diego's work points accurately and not give him any leeway. I also asked her to talk to the village accountant and ensure that Diego couldn't exchange his work points for money or ration coupons. If he married me because of my family's influence in the village, Then I would make sure he felt the full benefits of being my husband. In my past life, Diego got into university but hid my acceptance letter. I was heartbroken, but I was also happy for him, thinking I had married the right person. The girls in the village envied me. My entire family worked tirelessly to support him through university, even sending money and food to his parents so he could study without distractions. Before he graduated, his father had an accident and became paralyzed. His mother had to help his sister take care of her children, so I was sent to look after his father. When he brought me back to the city, I was overjoyed. Everyone said I was going to live a good life in the city, but in reality, I spent 30 to 40 years as a maid for his family. Looking back now, I realized he hid my university acceptance letter just so my family would devote all their resources to supporting him. Chapter 5. Diego quickly noticed my actions. At first, he maintained his cold demeanor, thinking he could handle me the same way he did in our past life. But after just a few days of being assigned increasingly heavy work, he couldn't hold back any longer and came to find me. Zoe, I only take care of Monica because we're from the same place. Don't overthink it. I've been reflecting these past few days, and I've realized I can't live without you. From now on, I'll keep my distance from Monica. Please don't be angry anymore. Go talk to grandfather and ask him to let me go back to my old job. Carrying dirt is too much for me. Look at my shoulders, they're blistered. As he spoke, he exposed his reddened shoulders, trying to evoke my sympathy. I glanced at him indifferently and said, Diego, everyone is rushing to meet the dam construction deadline. As the grandson-in-law of the village chief, you should set an example. Diego was furious, but he had no choice but to endure it. I underestimated Diego's determination. I started noticing that he often came home very late. When I went to the village to look for him, I found him and Monica hiding in the cowshed, supposedly studying together. But more often than not, it was Diego tutoring Monica. His reputation as a professor in our past life wasn't just for show. He was clearly worried that Monica might not pass the exam this time and was doing everything he could to ensure she succeeded. An idea crossed my mind. Since he's such a good teacher, it would be a waste not to make full use of him. I deliberately leaked the news about the upcoming college entrance exams to the other educated youth and mentioned Diego secretly tutoring Monica. As expected, on the third evening, when Diego was tutoring Monica, the other educated youth caught them in the act. Left with no choice, Diego agreed to tutor everyone together. Otherwise, the others threatened to report him for improper relations with Monica. Seeing Diego's and Monica's near tearful faces, I couldn't help but smile. Their good days were just beginning. Diego started coming home later and later. I warned him that if he came back late again, I'd bolt the door and leave him outside. Diego didn't take me seriously. That night, I deliberately bolted the door early, leaving him knocking outside for a long time. When my family tried to open the door for him, I stopped them. I didn't know where Diego ended up that night. But the next day, when I saw him at work, dark circles shadowed his eyes. After a few days of this, Diego finally gave in. After coming home from work and eating dinner, he no longer dared to leave the house. One day, I saw him go into my younger brother's room. Then he came to find me, staring at me for a long time before speaking. What are you doing? Are you reading your brother's textbooks? I replied calmly. I heard the college entrance exams are coming back. I want to give it a try. In our past life, when news of the exams came, he wanted more time to study but was afraid of being criticized for slacking off. So he made me study with him. He said he wanted to go to college with me, painting a grand picture of our future together. I believed him and argued with my family, eventually securing half-day work and half-day study arrangements for both of us. It was because of me that he had the chance to go to college. But when I was accepted, he cut off my opportunity. Diego sneered. You're just a middle school graduate. Do you really think you can outperform us high school graduates? Don't waste your time. I looked up at him. After his rebirth, he had become even more mean-spirited than in our past life. I replied calmly, it doesn't matter if I don't pass. Learning more is always a good thing. Oh, by the way, I already told my family that I'll study at home in the mornings and go to work in the afternoons. Why are you still standing here? It's time to get to work. Diego stomped his foot hard, took a few steps, and then came back. I want to study too. From now on, I'll only work half days. I closed my book and said, "That's not possible." Grandpa mentioned last night that several other educated youth have already applied for half-day work arrangements, and he approved them. The slots are full now, and no more will be approved. I added with a hint of threat in my voice. Also, I heard that to take the college entrance exams, you need an introduction letter from the commune. With so many people wanting to take the exam, I wonder how many will actually get a letter. Diego angrily retorted, "Zoe, I'm your husband." Without lifting my head, I replied, "Didn't you want a divorce? If we divorce, you won't be my husband anymore." Diego hesitated for a moment before saying, "Zoe, I just want to go to college. I won't divorce you as long as you stop being so unreasonable." At this point, he still thought I was being unreasonable. I grinned. "I won't divorce you either, but I don't want you to go to college." Diego's pupils dilated as he staggered back a few steps. "You," lowering his voice, he asked, "Zoe, did you also come back to life?" I glanced at him sideways. "Take a guess." Diego gasped and stammered. "Then you." He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "Zoe, I can honestly say I never wronged you in our last life. Even though you're a rural woman, I never despised you. I stayed with you through it all and brought you to the city to enjoy a better life. If anything, I wronged Monica, making her suffer so many years of hardship. Zoe, our marriage was a mistake. This time, I want to make it right. Please, let me go." I laughed loudly. "A better life? What is a better life? Scraping food from the dirt to send you to college? Serving your father's every need? Carrying his waste? Being scolded while doing disgusting, backbreaking work? Or being a maid for your family my entire life, only to be criticized for not being capable? Or enduring your emotional abuse for decades? That's the better life you gave me?" Diego's face darkened. "Enough. If you think our marriage was a mistake, then let's end it. After all, a forced melon is never sweet." I sneered. "A forced melon may not be sweet, but I'm happy once I've plucked it." Diego left in a hurry, watching his retreating figure. I laughed, but soon tears began to flow down my face. Chapter 6. When news of the reinstatement of the college entrance exams spread, the entire village was in an uproar, especially the educated youth. At first, only a few studied at night, but now everyone was scrambling to take time off to prepare. Grandpa was deeply troubled by this. Diego also went to Grandpa to request leave, but Grandpa firmly denied his request. He told Diego that since both I and my younger brother were preparing for the college entrance exams, Diego should focus on farm work. Furious, Diego stormed over to confront me. I told him, "Yes, as long as you're still my husband, you can forget about taking the exams." Diego was enraged but powerless. Now, my family and I kept a close eye on him every day, making it nearly impossible for him to see Monica. If they dared to meet in secret, I'd report them for immoral behavior. At this time, Alex, Monica's husband from our past life, returned home from the army to visit his family. This time, he was preparing to marry Monica. After a few days of silence, Diego finally relented. He asked me to meet him by the river, saying he wanted an open and honest conversation. When I arrived, Diego was squatting by the river, smoking a crude cigarette. He looked utterly haggard. In a hoarse voice, he said, "Zoe, I'll do anything to make it up to you. What do you want from me to let me go?" I paused for a moment and replied, "If you want a divorce, fine. Have your parents transfer their jobs to me." Diego sighed in frustration. "Zoe, you're a rural resident. That's not possible. Can't you ask for something else? Besides, you know my parents' jobs don't have much of a future anyway." I shook my head. "Diego, say what you will, but the truth is, you're my family's live-in son-in-law. What else do you even have to compensate me with?" Diego gritted his teeth and said, "Actually, my mother gave me a family heirloom, a jade bracelet. I never gave it to you in our past life. Would you accept that as compensation?" He pulled something out of his pocket and placed it in his palm. It appeared to be a jade bracelet. I stepped closer, but when I saw the sinister glint in his eyes, my heart sank. Before I could react, he shoved me into the river. The icy water rushed into my lungs. In that moment of shock, I realized Diego wanted to kill me. Chapter 7. I flailed in the water, trying to call for help, but ended up choking on mouthfuls of water. Although I grew up in the South, I never learned how to swim. While my village friends could swim back and forth across the rivers, I was the only one who couldn't. Just as I was about to sink to the bottom, I saw a figure in army green rushing over and diving into the water, swimming toward me. Alex saved me. When he performed CPR on me, I regained consciousness. The moment I woke up, I heard Diego shouting, "Alex! Zoe is my wife." In broad daylight, "You're kissing and touching her. You've humiliated me." Monica was crying and wailing next to him. "Alex, we're about to get engaged, but you're acting this way with another woman. I won't marry you anymore." I spat out the water in my stomach and saw the smug expressions on their faces before I passed out again. When I woke up at home, the first thing my mother did was slap me hard across the face. "How could you do such a shameful thing? You've disgraced the entire family. How are we supposed to face anyone now?" My father sighed heavily beside her. "Why did you have to survive? If you'd died, at least your reputation would still be clean." Hearing their words, I felt a cold emptiness in my heart. In my past life, whenever I wanted a divorce, my parents always said no woman in the village ever got divorced. They told me my husband was a respected professor at a prestigious university, that he didn't look down on me, so I should be grateful and stop thinking about divorce. Yet it was the same parents who traveled thousands of miles to the city to take care of me during my postpartum confinement, when I was all alone after giving birth. Sometimes, I truly couldn't tell whether my parents loved me or hated me. Diego, looking smug, said, "Mom, Dad, Zoe has been kissed and touched by another man. I refuse to be humiliated. I want a divorce." I roared at him. "You pushed me into the river. You tried to kill me." My parents turned to him with questioning eyes. Diego, however, calmly denied it. "Zoe, you shouldn't make false accusations. You're my wife. Why would I push you into the river?" I knew he would never admit it. He could easily deny inviting me to the river and completely absolve himself. I said coldly, "No matter what, I won't divorce you." My father looked at me, then at Diego, frowning deeply as he puffed on his water pipe. Finally, he said, "Our family has always been upright. We won't do anything to invite gossip. Zoe, don't be afraid. You can stay at home. Your mother and I will take care of you for the rest of your life." Diego smiled with satisfaction. I questioned my father why he agreed to the divorce. His cloudy eyes stared at the uneven ground as he said, "Zoe, Diego's heart isn't with you. In the past, with your grandfathers and my influence, we could suppress him and ensure he wouldn't mistreat you. But now he's about to take the college entrance exams. If he gets in, you won't be a match for him anymore. Our family won't be able to control him. Zoe, there's an old saying, a good marriage is between equals. But you young girls, you always chase after love and emotions. No wonder you end up suffering. He's already shown he has the intent to harm you. If you don't divorce now and he tries to kill you again, what will you do?" I fell silent. What took me a lifetime to understand had already been proven countless times before. I always thought I was special, that I could transcend the rules. I forgot that some rules exist because they've been tested over and over. I quickly divorced Diego, and he moved to the dormitory at the educated youth camp. My parents and I then went to Alex's house with a grand display of gratitude, bringing many gifts to thank him. Alex felt deeply guilty for ruining my reputation by saving me, which led to my divorce. I waved it off, repeatedly thanking him for saving my life, joking that he should be careful about saving people in the future. He might get blamed for it. Alex's mother immediately looked at me with suspicion, afraid I'd try to cling to Alex. But I had no interest in Alex. Don't be fooled by the fact that Alex is just a low-ranking soldier right now. In the future, he'll earn numerous accolades, climbing the ranks quickly and becoming a regiment commander while still young. Monica enjoyed a life of luxury when she was with Alex in her past life, though she was constantly blamed by Alex's mother for being unable to have children. And Diego? Even if he later became a professor, so what? It took him 20 years to earn his title, far inferior to Alex. If Monica knew what she missed out on, she'd probably regret it so much it'd eat her alive. Chapter 8. The college entrance exams approached quickly. Diego, wary of any tricks I might pull, rushed around to pull strings, ensuring Grandpa would issue him the necessary introduction letter. Once he had the letter in hand, he strutted around every time he saw me, smugly saying, "Women are short-sighted, even if you've been reborn. So what? You're still as useless as ever." I replied coldly, "At least I got rid of a parasite like you. This time, no one will secretly hide my college acceptance letter." Diego was at a loss for words and shot me a glare before storming off. He thought he could take the college entrance exams? Not that easily. The night before the exams, after Diego and Monica went to sleep, they were out like dead pigs, completely unable to wake up. By the time we returned to the village after 3 days of exams, both of them still looked groggy and confused. The moment Diego saw me, he screamed hoarsely, "It was you, Zoe. You did this to me. You made me miss the exams. I'll report you to the police and have them arrest you." Monica, as if struck by lightning, looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Zoe, do you even understand what the college entrance exams mean to us? You've ruined our future. You're so vicious." The other educated youth who had returned with us looked at me in shock and suspicion. I smiled and said, "Whenever something goes wrong, you blame me, but when you pushed me into the river, you didn't dare admit it. Go ahead, call the police. I'd like to see if justice catches up with you." Grandpa took a long drag on his pipe and said to the village officials, "When my granddaughter was pushed into the river, I chose not to report it to the police to protect the village's reputation. But now these educated youth are slandering her, which is an insult to me. I suggest we report this to the police, or I won't be able to lead this village any longer." Hearing Grandpa's words, the villagers glared angrily at Diego and Monica. Diego shouted, "We must report this. If they can ruin our future today just because they don't like us, who's to say they won't do the same to others tomorrow?" The educated youth began clamoring in support of Diego. I sneered, "If you hadn't harmed others, how can you be so sure someone harmed you? Let the police investigate thoroughly." The police arrived quickly and began their investigation. Soon, they found traces of datura flower pollen in Monica's water bottle. The police also found a soda bottle with datura flowers Monica had picked in the female dormitory. After explaining the effects of datura flowers, the other female youth turned on Monica in anger. "No wonder I felt dizzy during the first day of exams. It's all because of the flowers you brought back. What were you trying to do? You wanted to harm us. You deserve to miss the exams." Monica was at a loss for words. She turned to me, pointing and screaming, "It was her. She was the one I saw picking the flowers. That's why I picked them too." I chuckled. "Oh, and how does that become my fault? I went to take the exams. Why didn't you?" Diego's face turned pale. I extended my hand toward him and said, "Out of respect for our marriage, I didn't take my brother's textbooks from you. But since you're both so ungrateful, return my family's things." I wanted nothing more than to watch them work tirelessly, only to have all their efforts come to nothing. The police couldn't determine who had put the pollen in Monica's water bottle. In the end, they concluded that Monica must have accidentally contaminated it herself and then shared the sugar water with Diego, which caused them both to fall unconscious. My younger brother glared at Diego and snatched his textbooks from Diego's bed. Diego glared back at me and spat out, "Don't get cocky, Zoe. Even if we didn't take the exam this year, we'll pass it next year." I waved the textbooks in my hand. "I'll be watching." Leaning closer to Diego, I whispered, "How did the sugar water you gave Monica taste? Sweet?" Diego's eyes widened in shock. Chapter 9. This time, both my younger brother and I scored well on the exams. I was admitted to university, and my brother got into a vocational school. 4 of the educated youth from the village also passed, thanks in part to Diego's tutoring and guidance during their study sessions. The 4 of them were overjoyed and deeply grateful to Diego. Before leaving, they comforted him, saying that with his abilities, he was sure to get into a good university next year. Diego outwardly agreed, but inwardly, he was filled with frustration and regret. Even Monica's gaze toward him became tinged with resentment. My brother and I getting into university gave my family newfound pride in the village. While working, the villagers often teased Diego. Diego, we heard about what happened when Alex saved Zoe. That was CPR. Not anything improper. And you just gave up a college-educated wife like that. Don't you regret it? Diego's face darkened, and he stayed silent. The villagers laughed even harder, saying he must regret it so much it made him sick to his stomach. The gossip eventually reached Monica's ears. Tearfully, she went to Diego, saying, Diego, do you regret it? I didn't mean to. I didn't know Daturo was poisonous. I don't know how the pollen got into the water bottle. You don't blame me, do you? Diego gently comforted her. I don't blame you. If anyone's to blame, it's Zoe. Hearing this, I frowned and said, Diego, don't push all your misdeeds onto me. If you keep slandering me, I'll have to report it. Seeing Diego's expression, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. During the holiday, when my brother and I returned to the village, we heard that Diego and Monica had gotten married. It turned out that Alex had returned from the army with a fiancée and had even been promoted. At just over 20 years old, he was now a regimental commander with a promising future. When Monica learned the news, she was filled with regret. When Alex returned with his fiancée, Monica clung to him, demanding that he take responsibility for her. This infuriated Diego. He promised Monica that he would provide her with a good life. But Monica cried and said she couldn't take it anymore. With another year to go before she could take the college entrance exams, the heavy labor had left her malnourished, poorly clothed, and living in substandard conditions. She had fallen ill multiple times and could no longer endure it. She also blamed Diego, saying that if she hadn't listened to him, she would have gotten into college and become the wife of a regimental commander by now. Though it might not have been a life of luxury, it would certainly have been better than her current situation. To cling to Alex, Monica jumped into the river as he was passing by. Alex initially wanted to jump in to save her, but he remembered what I had told him before and refrained, instead calling for someone else to help. When another person went in and saved Monica, she slapped him across the face, blaming him for rescuing her. The villagers who came to help immediately understood her intentions and were deeply displeased, calling her ungrateful. Later, when she fell down an embankment in the fields, not a single person came to her aid. She broke her leg in the fall. Diego spent all his money taking her to the hospital. He even tried to get an advance on his work points but was sternly refused by the accountant. The two of them struggled desperately just to survive, long forgetting about their plans to study. The next year's college entrance exams came, and as expected, Diego passed while Monica failed. Afraid that Diego would leave her, Monica agreed to marry him, and they registered their marriage. However, just before Diego was about to leave for school, Monica tore up his admission letter. Diego went mad. Monica said, "You promised to love me for a lifetime. You also said we'd go to college together. Until I get into college, you're not allowed to leave." Diego gave in, but 1 or 2 years passed, and by the time I graduated from university, Monica had already given birth to 2 children. She still hadn't gotten into college, and naturally, Diego never went either. In my first year of work, I saw Diego again. He was haggard and aged, bent over as he dug in the dirt. The once proud professor from my past life had completely turned into a farmer. When he saw me, his eyes lit up with hope, and he smiled obsequiously as he asked to borrow money. He said he was fed up with his life and just wanted to leave Monica and pursue the life he had always dreamed of. I shook my head and refused, then turned around and immediately told Monica what Diego had said. The two of them had another round of fights and arguments. "Diego, you chose love, so enjoy your love conquers all life to the fullest. As for me, having been reborn, I want both success and recognition. I want to savor the process of building a life and enjoy the beautiful life I've worked hard to create."